Welcome to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. Of course, I'm your host, JJ Kitchen. Guys, another episode here for today, and it's a special week, and it's a rivalry week here at the University of Pittsburgh, and that's against the West Virginia Mountaineers in the Backyard Brawl. It's supposed to be a special game this year, last game till 2029, for all the marbles, for bragging rights in the next 3 or 4 years. This is going to be a truly special game, in my opinion. I think that these two teams right now, though, are really going in two separate directions. I was lucky enough to go talk to Justin Coos Walker over at Coos' Corner earlier this week, able to drop this video here tonight. We'll talk about some players on both teams, Pitt and West Virginia, who to look for, a little bit of film breakdown, but more importantly, a score prediction and who I think will win the final edition of the Backyard Brawl till 2029. But first, this show is sponsored by Colonial Beer, located at 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. Guys, tremendous people, Pitt people. Anytime you can help out Pitt people, but also a small business, it's a plus. And helping people is one of the most important things you can do in life. But the best thing about it, these are tremendous people, season ticket holders to the University of Pittsburgh, but overall, great people. When you walk in there, they have great customer service. They answer any questions you have. And of course, if you talk Pitt football or sports in general, they love to have the dialogue and the conversation with you. They have plenty of different selections in there between your heavier lagers and your lighter beers. Plenty of different selections. You guys have seen me post plenty of the pictures from Colonial Beer. Make sure you go see them, located at 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson, an attorney on your side. Call them at 724-799-8404 or visit them at thompsonattorney.com. Again, we're blessed to have Brian Thompson as a sponsor of the show here. The best part about it is Brian is a great individual that cares about people, comes from a great family, has a great family. But the best thing about Brian is he's a smaller law firm, a lot different than the larger law firms, where Brian cares about you, the individual, and making sure that you get the results that you need in the case that you have. Whether it doesn't matter what it is, what you bring to him, he will be able to find a way to get it done for you. And if he doesn't have the answer for you, he'll guide you through the process and get you to somebody who can give you those answers. Again, Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson. Call them at 724-799-8404 or visit them at thompsonattorney.com. Last but not least, the show is also sponsored by the K Collection, the coffee brand by Austin Kitchen, Mount Lebanon alum, Coastal Carolina University national champion, and now, of course, with the Seattle Mariners organization in Major League Baseball. Make sure, guys, again, they have plenty of different selections. Bringing this right here. A great bag, a great selection they have here. Personally, this is my favorite. But I use this every single morning. It's nice to have a bag here at the house, but also at my office, because when I'm sometimes in a rush in the morning, I'm going to see a client, I always have this bag with me. Luckily, I have 2 bags right now. I actually just got a new batch in from online. You're able to order this online. Go to www.thekingscraft.com and get your bag today. Again, the K Collection, the backwards K Collection, the coffee brand by Austin Kitchen, the Seattle Mariners. Go to www.thekingscraft.com. Guys, another great show on tap for you here today. It's the Backyard Brawl Week, and it's a really great game. It's a shame it's the last year of this, but I think college football is in a whirlwind right now of just football scheduling, the ACC potentially going to 9 conference games, 8 to 9 conference games, the Big 12 having 9 conference games, the SEC makes that final move of going from 8 conference games to 9 conference games. West Virginia just recently got out of a series with the Alabama Crimson Tide, added a number of schools in there, one of them being Coastal Carolina, one of my other favorite college football teams, of course, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And it's been crazy so far. The shame of it is this is the last year till 2029, and I think it's going to be a special game. I think probably more for Pitt fans than it is West Virginia fans if it goes the way I think it's going to go after you watch a lot of the tape. You'll watch a lot of the games that we've seen here between the first 2 games of the year, between, for West Virginia, the first game at home against Robert Morris, the second game of the year. They went on the road to Athens, Ohio, and faced Ohio University, and unfortunately lost to the Ohio Bobcats, a MAC conference team. Probably one of the worst losses that West Virginia has had in a long time. But it comes with a number of different measures. West Virginia right now has a new head football coach, the returning prodigal son, Rich Rodriguez, comes in from Jacksonville State, brings a number of guys with him, brings in a defensive coordinator with him, Zach Alley, who was with him at Jacksonville State before he ended up going to Oklahoma to be a co-defensive coordinator and a defensive tackle coach. He comes to the West Virginia Mountaineers, well-versed, a guy 30 years old, 30 or 31 years old, and a battle of really two young coordinators, the D coordinator of Zach Alley versus Pitt's offensive coordinator, Cade Bell. It'll be certainly a good matchup overall to see how they react, how much they're able to change, how can they adjust, what kind of adjustments do they make in the game. It'll certainly be fun, and anytime you can have this type of game down in Morgantown, it'll be very, very enticing, but more importantly, it'll be a very hostile environment. As you can imagine, when they're up here, hostile environment down there in Morgantown, hostile environment. The game here today, first up, guys, Nico Marchiol, who I expect to be the starting quarterback for the West Virginia Mountaineers. Rich Rodriguez talking to the media. Got to watch his whole entire media. Got to watch Rich Rodriguez back in 2008, 2009, and 2010. You guys are probably wondering, why are you watching Rich Rodriguez back in 08, 09, and 10? What does that have any relevance to today? Well, Pat Narduzzi was the defensive coordinator of the Michigan State Spartans, and Rich Rodriguez was the head football coach at Michigan. Got to watch the game tape from all three of those games, and when you watch a Rich Rodriguez offense, I mean, it's really potentially really the same offense. The only difference now, he does a little bit more work with the tight ends. He gets more involved there. He's still got an up-tempo offense. He loves to portray and really give the RPO style system, almost a lot like what Pitt does, but Pitt has a lot more NFL style concepts in their offense. The one thing that you can see now is that he really involves the tight end position now, but back then, the running game is really the same. And when you look at a Pat Narduzzi defense, it's stopping the run first. It really goes inside of what Pat Narduzzi loves to do. And if you're wondering, from 2008, 2009, and 2010, Pat Narduzzi's defenses were 3-0 against the Michigan Wolverines, winning all 3 years. The first year, the Michigan State defense gave up 21 points. The second year, 20 points. And the third year, they faced Rich Rodriguez, which they were ranked 18th in the country, only gave up 17 points in that football game. The West Virginia Mountaineers, Nico Marchiol. Really, there's going to be a two-quarterback rotation, in my opinion. Nico Marchiol, I expect him to start the game, and unless something crazy happens where he's just having a horrible game like he was having against Ohio, Jalen Henderson will come in, the transfer out of Texas A&M. But I expect Nico Marchiol to start this game. I think personally he is the best quarterback on this roster. He's got some wheels to him. He can run. He can get out of the pocket. If he's got to escape for some yards, he can, but he's not the fastest guy in the world. Jalen Henderson is certainly more the faster guy. I wouldn't be shocked if we see some pairings to where, Jalen Henderson comes in and he can be an RPO threat to where he's either handing the ball off or taking the ball off himself. I would not be shocked to see that guy get in there and have some plays for him already made up to where when he faces Pitt, he gets in the football game. But Nico Marchiol against Ohio, just for instance, obviously, again, a really bad loss for West Virginia. Fans losing their minds this week, and they're certainly not in a good place as they go against, the Pitt Panthers here. Nico Marchiol against Ohio, 15 of 26, just not good overall, 178 yards, no touchdown passes, and one interception. Jalen Henderson threw two passes in this game, was 0 for 2. Obviously, no tutties and no interceptions. And the rushing attack, they do lose a player, and I think, in my personal opinion, the best player for the West Virginia Mountaineers. That's Jaheim White. Unfortunately, was going through, has an injury, a horrific tackle, a horse collar. I mean, just all three: horse collar, hip tackle, and what's the other one? And a face mask on the play as well. So 3 penalties across the board, but Jaheim White, the best football player on the West Virginia Mountaineers, will not be available for this football game. He's out for the year. So really, in my opinion, I think when they go to the running back position, they're going to go to Clay Ash, who came off the bench first. He's about a 5'8", 160, 170-pound running back. Smaller guy, a lot like a Desmond Reed. I think Desmond Reed is more elusive, has a lot more speed. Clay Ash is going to be one of those guys that comes off the bench in this game. He had 4 carries last week for 2 yards. I mean, certainly not good. The next guy behind him, a guy that people loved. I think that the majority of Power 4 teams did not take him for a number of different reasons. But Sincere Bowers, a guy that's known for his 4.4 speed, got 1 carry last week and had -1 yards. Just a very tough game overall for the West Virginia running game. They had 72 yards rushing overall, 40 of those coming from Jaheim White. So, I mean, you take away those yards, They only had 32 rushing yards from everybody else, and that includes Rodney Gallagher, 2 carries for 18 yards. Nico Markiel, 11 carries for 9 yards. You take out a lot of that stuff because of the sacks. And Cam Vaughn, 1 carry for no yards. In the receiving game, Jaden Bray, who I would consider to be their wide receiver 2, is also out for the year. He suffered a foot injury during the game at Ohio. He's going to be out for the entire year. But they still have their number 1 receiver, and that was Cam Vaughn. Last week, he only had 2 receptions for 43 yards. You can imagine why they were not trying to go back to him more often. I talked to Kuz about that early on in the week, why the play calling was just atrocious against the Ohio Bobcats. But again, he's a good football player. He's easily, to me, the number 1 wide receiver for the West Virginia Mountaineers. That's going to be the guy. I would imagine that Jadarian Harrison or Tamon Lynham will line up across from them. I think it's going to be a great matchup, but to get the ball to Cam Vaughn down the field, he needs time. And I'm not really sure that Nico Markiel will have time. And the reason why I say that is reviewing the tape, there's a clear issue up front, whether it's blocking, pass blocking, or run blocking for the West Virginia Mountaineers. And that's just the offensive line where it has all 5 brand new players. It's got Nick Cray at left tackle, who is a Neil Brown recruit. And then at center, they have probably, in my opinion, their center is their best player, Livingston, who is an incredible, I think, a really good center. I think he does a good job in the middle. He does a good job of handling out what they need to do in terms of whether it's checks, whether it's being able to rotate or even move protections. The problem is that, I think his name's Walker Youngbear, who I looked at. Their right guard is, probably the most veteran offensive lineman that they have. But the problem is he's coming out of Troy, has just been horrific so far this year. And really everybody else besides Nick, besides Cray, and besides Livingston, really the offensive line has just been absolutely mediocre to this point. And I think that's going to be I don't see how you correct that after 2 straight weeks of an FCS opponent really pushing you around, a group of 5 team pushing you around. I think that's a very big question mark that goes for the rest of the year. And I think when you lose really, Jaheim White, your best football player, and then you lose Jaden Bray also in that room, who comes in, he was a transfer last year to the West Virginia Mountaineers out of Oklahoma State. I think they're lacking a lot of talent. And I think there's going to be some problems as you go through the year. And in this first year, I said this to numerous people on a number of different podcasts. Why West Virginia fans, but also, too, podcasters, the only one that was reasonable and actually was correct in saying, a floor of 5-7, seeing the team go 6-6 or potentially 7-5 was Coos. It was the only one that really was able to look at the tape and say, hey, there's issues here. Mountaineer Paul had him getting 8-9 wins a year. West Virginia SI had them getting, I think the former player talked about getting them 9 wins. 9 wins in his first year under Rich Rodriguez, which was absolutely just insane, in my opinion. You have 81 new football players. You need 2-3 years to really develop your culture, but more importantly, get the players in there that you need, but also, too, high school recruiting for a place like West Virginia. And I even say like Pitt. We certainly bring in players to the portal, but we're not bringing in 81 new players. These guys needed extra time. And I think that right now during the season, they're going to go through a really tough first season. This may be the worst West Virginia team that we've seen in a long time. And it's because of the transfer portal, new coaches. 2 or 3 years down the line, you may see a better football team, but they need time. Look at the defensive side of the football. The defensive side of the football has been a brighter side of the offensive side. Against Robert Morris, I mean, you looked at a team that just absolutely dominated. I thought the West Virginia defense under Zach Alley was very aggressive. You'll see them going into a 3-4. You see them go into a 4-3. They can go into a bear front where you see really 5 guys on the defensive line. They're very multiple. You look at the defense overall for West Virginia and Zach Alley, a multiple style defense, which really makes it tough to be able to game plan for them. You're really adjusting on the fly, whether it's that 3-4, 4-3, or that bear front where you got 5 guys up front. You're just being aggressive as hell. The linebacking core, Carrico Reed, if I'm not mistaken his name, or Reed Carrico, I might have been that. I can't remember the name back and forth. Probably should look that up here real quick. Ben Cutter, obviously, also too. Ben Cutter and Chase Wilson at the linebacker positions are 2 great players I have listed down here. Reed Carrico, he suffered an injury last week. If I had to guess, I think when you talk to enough people around, each program, you start to hear certain things. Rich Rodriguez talked about he's a guy that's hurt right now. They're not sure if he's going to be able to play or not. I expect him to play. The same thing goes for Jamori Robinson. I expect Jamori Robinson, the UTSA transfer who's been out all at camp the first 2 games of the year due to being ineligible academically, received word from the NCAA saying he was eligible I think he's going to go through the acclimation process. I expect him to play this week. Do I expect him to make big plays? Probably not. Do I expect him to play the full football game? More than likely not, because he's not up to date, especially his body-wise and just being conditioned for a football game. But when you look at the team overall, I think, Eddie Vestorinen, defensive tackle, defensive end, a guy who's really aggressive. That's a guy holdover from Neil Brown. He had 5 tackles in this football game. He's a veteran defensive lineman. That's going to be a guy to watch out for on the defensive line. And then you look at, obviously, in the back end, Justin Harrington, who comes in from Oklahoma, follows Zach Alley to the West Virginia Mountaineers. He's a guy to watch for in the back end. But Reed Carrico in the linebacker position, I expect him to play. And also, Ben Cutter, a guy I expect to play. 2 guys that were really holdovers also from the Neil Brown era. I think, guys, when you look at this game, it's the backyard brawl. You got to love it overall. And I think Pitt is in a great place. You look at the defensive line, the guys that I think for Pitt overall, you look at Pitt's defensive line, Zachary Crothers. I expect him to have a good football game here. It's his first atmosphere where he's on the road. I think he's going to have a damn good football game. Sean Fitzsimmons up front. I think he'll do well. Nick James, Francis Breu. I think those guys will be really integral in what Pitt does. The same thing goes with Jimmy Scott and Joey Zielinski at the defensive end position. Linebacker position, we know who Pitt has. I expect Kyle Lewis to step up to the challenge. The motto everyone going to know. He's going to be one of those guys people are going to find out about even more this year with the level he's playing at right now. And that's that's crazy. Think about a guy who's an All-American last year. He's taken it to another level. Same thing with Rasheem Biles, but also seeing Braylon Lovelace, man. I mean, just the guy just the Whitfield product out of Leechburg. He's done a hell of a job so far this year. I expect him to be a massive impact on this game. Same thing goes for Cruz Brookins on the back end. I think he's going to do a great job in this football game. He continues to get better. Same thing with Shadarian Harrison. Sean Lee Jr., this kid, I'll tell you what, they might say, he's a 5'8", 5'9" guy on a good day. I think he's a physical football player. He's got tremendous levels of talent. His dad, I'll tell you what, man, his dad was a hell of a football player. He played at Penn State. Just natural-born athlete. And I think he's done a really good job so far. He'll be able to hold up in this challenge. I expect Tamon Lynham to be back. I do not expect Rashad Battle to be back in this football game. He had a cast on his hand. I don't expect him to be back playing in this football game. And then on the offense side of the football, Eli Holstein. As long as he doesn't make any crazy, irrational decisions, I still love how he's aggressive. I think good quarterbacks know when to be aggressive, especially early on in the football game. I expect him to have a good game here. I think Eli's going to have two or 3 touchdowns. I think 3 touchdowns, 3 touchdown passes in this football game, also utilizing his legs. Desmond Reed, Joels Goff, and Jakirian Boozy Turner. I think all 3 of them will certainly get plenty of touches through the air and on the ground. In this football game, though, Blue Hicks. I want to see Blue Hicks really have one hell of a ball game on the outside at the wide receiver position. The same thing goes for Kenny Johnson, man. You wanted more money during the offseason. This is it. This is the first opportunity where you earn your stripes. You're facing your rival. You're on the road. It's a hostile environment. Be the Kenny Johnson who we know you can be. We know you can be a wide receiver 1. Prove that shit here in week 3 against your rival. Really propel yourself the rest of the year to where you take off to the National Football League after this year. The same thing goes, obviously, for Blue Hicks. I want to see Deuce Spann step up. And then I think Raphael Poppy Williams will be a massive factor in the passing game. And I want to see if CJ Lee makes his way back into the lineup as a reserve wide receiver as well. And then you'll have guys in there like Tony Kinsler and Zion Fowler-L. The same thing goes for, I don't expect Jake Overman to be back. He was out last week. He did not dress. From my understanding, he's still hurt, so I don't expect him to play in this game upcoming on Saturday. It's going to be up to a guy like Holmes. Holmes playing at the tight end position. Then you got guys like Malachi Thomas and then Max Hunt, but also too Altsman, the walk-on. I think he'll get some touches like he did this past weekend. I think they'll just be really your 4 tight ends you'll have on the field, especially in this physical style of football game. You want to make sure they're all playing at this point and making sure you got enough guys out there. And if you feel uncomfortable about putting anybody out there, just put another wide receiver out there and you'll be fine. Then it comes to the offensive line. We've been on the offensive line for the first 2 games, and we've talked about the running game. And the running game needs to be better. It needs to be more physical. It needs to be more violent. When we look for guys to run this football, for Desmond Reed, Joels Goff, Jakirian Boozy Turner, I want to see this offensive line take shit personally. Maul people. Move these people and get people out of the damn way and really find a way to establish the run, but also even in pass protection. Give Eli Holstein a pocket. Give him enough time to throw. He will certainly find a guy that's there. Really assert your dominance. Show what this offensive line can truly be in this football game. I think that there'll be times during the game, the run game, obviously, it'll be stopped at the offensive line of scrimmage. They'll get a couple draw periods where they get a play in the backfield, maybe get a sack in this football game. But when you look at these two teams right now, Pitt is the more talented football team, and it's not close. Assert your dominance. Be the offensive line we expect you to be. I expect this offensive line to be more consistent in week 3 as they've gotten better, as we've seen on the road. And I think the energy, they will only feed more off the energy in the backyard brawl and the rivalry here. Guys, it comes down to this. What's going to be the score prediction? And I thought about this, and I had all my notes here. I'll tell you what. I'm going to have this football game go to Pitt 35, the West Virginia Mountaineers 17. I got themselves 15-3, so 18-point victory. I think the only reason why is because of the level of transfers here. And I think that this team is looking to prove something. Everybody going to know. It's time to prove it. And I told you guys, the first 2 weeks, Pitt could do whatever it wants. We could talk about things that you got to improve on, but hey, you win those games, good. You're supposed to win those games. This is where these players start to earn respect. It's in the backyard brawl, your first Power 4 opponent, and it's on the road. Earn your respect right now. Earn your respect. Beat your rival on the road. First time since the series went away for a while, but I think the first time a win on the road since 2007. Be the team we know you can be. Knock people out. Get after it. Be the football team you can be right now. So again, I got 35-17. That's going to do it here. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. If you have not done so, subscribe, like the video, share this video. I'll be sharing this tomorrow on Twitter, on Facebook. Appreciate you guys, for everything you guys do, and cannot thank you enough for supporting this channel. Guys, with everything that's going on in the world, sports brings us together. Allow this to bring us together on Saturday with everything that's crazy going on in the world right now. Allow this to bring us together on Saturday, and let's really enjoy this football game. So, guys, cannot thank you enough. As always, and forever, hail to Pitt and hail to the ACC. I'll see you guys next time.